The United States and Iran are currently locked in a cycle of sanctions, rhetoric, and military posturing. The two nations operate as permanent geopolitical rivals, with little room for diplomatic maneuver. This hostility traces back to the summer of 1953. Inside these rooms, a group of intelligence officers authorized a secret operation that would dictate the next 70 years of Middle Eastern politics. After World War II, the massive refinery at Abadan made Iran one of the most oil-rich nations on Earth. However, the British-owned Anglo-Iranian Oil Company controlled the profits, while the Iranian public remained in poverty. This economic disparity turned the country into a national powder keg. By 1951, the public was ready for a leader who would reclaim their resources. That leader was Mohammad Mossadegh. Elected prime minister in 1951, he rose to power on a single promise: to end foreign control of Iranian oil. He followed through by nationalizing the oil industry, legally seizing the assets of the British corporation. For the first time, Iran controlled its most valuable economic resource. Britain responded with a total naval blockade and a global boycott of Iranian oil. Within months, Iran's economy began to collapse under the weight of these sanctions, but Mossadegh refused to reverse his decision. With diplomacy failing and a full-scale military invasion deemed too costly, the British government approached the United States with a proposal for a covert intervention. The Eisenhower administration viewed the crisis through the lens of the Cold War. They feared the economic collapse would allow the Soviet-backed Tudeh party to seize power, bringing Iran into the communist orbit. To prevent this, the CIA and MI6 launched Operation Ajax. Kermit Roosevelt Jr. was sent to Tehran to orchestrate a coup from within the city's political and social institutions. The operation used a specific playbook of subversion. The CIA funneled dollars to Iranian news editors to publish fabricated stories painting Mossadegh as a communist. Simultaneously, hired mobs staged violent protests in Tehran. This created a public perception of chaos, making it look like Mossadegh was losing control. By weaponizing the local press and paying for artificial unrest, the intelligence agencies turned the tools of democracy against the prime minister. The first attempt at the coup was a disaster. Mossadegh's security forces discovered the plot and arrested the key conspirators. The Shah, fearing he would be next, fled the country to Rome. While Washington prepared to abandon the mission, Roosevelt stayed in Tehran and doubled down. He flooded the streets with money, fueling even larger and more violent clashes between supporters of the Shah and the government. On August 19th, the chaos reached its peak. Pro-Shah military units joined the crowds and stormed the capital. Mossadegh's government fell, and the prime minister was taken into custody. For the West, Operation Ajax was a success. They had secured the oil and removed a defiant leader without ever declaring a formal war. In the short term, the benefits were clear. Foreign oil companies returned to Iran, and the United States gained a strategic, anti-communist ally in the Persian Gulf. However, the Shah returned to power with a mandate for absolute rule. He spent the next 2 decades dismantling the country's democratic institutions to ensure he would never be threatened again. To maintain this control, he relied on SAVAK, a secret police force known for surveillance and torture to silence any form of political dissent. By prioritizing economic stability and Cold War security, Western powers traded Iran's developing democracy for a long-term dictatorship. This intervention left a lasting imprint on the Iranian public. Over the next 25 years, the knowledge that their government had been subverted by foreign powers fueled a deep and growing resentment. In 1979, that resentment exploded into the Iranian Revolution. The Shah was overthrown, and the new Islamic Republic was built on a foundation of explicit anti-Americanism. The U.S. Embassy hostage crisis soon followed, cementing the transition from an ally to a permanent adversary. Operation Ajax demonstrates the high cost of tactical success. By subverting Iranian sovereignty for immediate gain in 1953, the United States created a geopolitical blowback that continues to define the Middle East today.